if I'd have remembered the Pat Benatar quote from so many years ago that I never forgot. I just forgot to live it. Hi, welcome to Chronicles of Nani. I'm Nani. This is the YouTube channel where I talk about my life with progressive MS and my life in a wheelchair because I can't stand up, and the fact that I'm living with that life, that I don't let it, I let it slow me down a little bit, but I don't let it stop me. And if you find anything that I say to be inspiring or just fun to watch, please subscribe. The number going up is always something that makes me feel good and makes me want to keep doing it. And I enjoy doing it, so I'm going to keep doing it anyway. So might as well subscribe and make me happy in the process, right? First and foremost, it's the Cyber Coffee Shop. We sit and we talk about things that are going on in my life and in my world. And that's not always things to do with MS or even in a wheelchair, because I'm still part of the world. So it can be about anything. But part of welcome to the coffee shop is the Cyber Coffee Shop always includes my coffee, which today is in my West Virginia coffee mug. I've been to West Virginia a few different times. There was one trip that I went to West Virginia. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather, their last name was Sutton. And Sutton, West Virginia is the county seat of Braxton County, West Virginia. That's not a coincidence. My great-grandparents were from West Virginia. And Sutton, the family name, traces its roots back to the founder of Sutton, West Virginia. John Sutton was the founder of the city, which is now the county seat. So it's a pretty big deal in a pretty small county in a relatively small state. But it was still a cool idea to go and see that monument to our ancestor. For Mom and me, it's a blood relative. We are ancestors of the founder of the city. That's actually pretty cool. So we went to Sutton, West Virginia on one of our trips. This is a trip that we took with my dad. There is a picture of Mom and me standing next to the monument to John Sutton, who was the founder of the city of Sutton, West Virginia. And Pop took the photo. How we found the monument is interesting. My grandma got the information from just general information about the Sutton last name, which was her maiden name, and got that information from a relative that said, hey, this monument is being put up to for the founder of the city, and that'd be cool to go and see. Now, I don't think Grandma ever got to see it, but she traveled with her uncle quite a bit to West Virginia after my grandfather passed. So it's possible that she did go and see it, but I don't remember her telling me about it. But we went to Sutton, West Virginia on a Saturday. A Saturday, the weekend. And we drove up to the police station where there was a police car for the Sutton police outside of the police station. And we flagged down an officer that was coming out of the police station. And we introduced ourselves and told him that one of our ancestors was John Sutton, and we wanted to see the monument made in his honor. And he said, well, that's in the cemetery. Just a second, let me go inside the office. So Mom and I followed him into the office, and we went down a hallway into a single room where, listen to the language, this is important, where the cop that we pulled in and asked the question said to the other cop in the office, these people are relatives of John Sutton and they want to see the monument. I'm going to take the car and take them up to the cemetery and show them the monument. And the other cop said, no problem. So he grabbed the keys and took us back out, got in the car and said, just follow me. And we followed him up, well, not a mountain. There are lots of real mountains in West Virginia. But seemed like a mountain when you're driving up it. One lane that went round and round up to the top. One lane, no guardrails. So if there's somebody coming down them while you're going up, there's no place to pull off and let them go. One of you has to back up all the way down or all the way up to let the other person on or off the top of the hill. But there was nobody coming down, so we had nothing to worry about. And we followed the cop car up to the top and into the cemetery, which was basically the top of the mountain-ish. So we got in there, and the officer gets out of his car and took us to the monument, showed us the monument, showed us where the grave marker was for John Sutton. Actually asked us, do you need directions to get back down into town, or are you good? And we said, no, we can get back into town, no problem. And we spent a little bit of time up there. Pop took the picture of Mom and me standing next to the monument. And then we rode back down the mountain-ish with no guardrails, and nobody fell off, so it was good. And we got back down into the Saturday evening in Sutton, West Virginia, where you seriously could load a rifle, shoot it down Main Street, and hit no one, because there was no one there. But it was still an interesting and very cool thing to do, to see that monument, to actually be in the town in West Virginia that's actually named for one of my ancestors, that bears the same name as my great-grandparents did, because it's named for our family. I'm thinking about an article I read way back when I was in high school. It was, I got all of the magazines, the rock and roll magazines, and read them all cover to cover. And at the end of the month, I cut out pictures. And that was part of my decorating my teenage room. And you can see that there are a couple of posters and lots of pictures cut out from magazines that were the things I enjoyed when I was a teenager. But I remember reading an article about Pat Benatar way back in the beginning of her career. It may have been her first tour. And in this article, she was burning the candle at both ends, getting her career started. And she actually had to take a few weeks off tour because she was getting too overwhelmed and exhausted. Yeah, kind of like me. But the quote that I remember from that article and never forgot the quote, was that sometimes you gotta sit down or you fall down. And she was close to falling down on stage because she was overworking herself. I kind of remember the quote, and I forgot to think about the quote before I got to the sometimes you sit down or you fall down point, which is kind of where I'm at now, and kind of where I need to do some relaxing and organizing. That's why I had to do a rerun last week. If I had watched that vlog, if I'd have remembered the Pat Benatar quote from so many years ago, then I never forgot. I just forgot to live it. It could have stopped me from being overwhelmed and gotten me a little bit to where I am now, which is not so overwhelmed and a little bit better. I spent my time off last week. I put together a list of all of my priorities, everything that was overwhelming me. And I shared this information with my therapist, who thought it was a wonderful idea because it was a suggestion she made to me long time ago when I had first started seeing her because I was feeling overwhelmed. So the suggestion she made to me was make a list of all the things that are overwhelming me and divide them up, figure out what the priorities are, and take care of the priorities first. So my solution during my time off was I took my list of all of my priorities and everything that was overwhelming me, and I actually created 3 separate lists. The first list was the immediate priorities, things that had to be done in the last couple weeks before there was an event I wanted to go to. If those things weren't done, I wasn't going to get to go. That event's coming up in a few days, and it looks like I'm going to go. So I'm really happy about that, and I'll talk to you more about that after I confirm that I'm definitely going to go. And I have pictures and maybe even some video from the event to tell you all about having gone. But so that's my first list. My second list, the immediate stuff that I need to do or have done to make my house something that I can deal with. That is, I need to have someone come in to organize. I had someone before. She gave me 2 hours notice before she said I'm never coming back because she got a full-time job the day before, but called me 2 hours before she was supposed to be in and said, I'm sorry, I got a full-time job and I'm not going to be able to come back and help you anymore. I could go into the whole, my opinion about the proper way to do things work-wise, but to quote Trevor Noah, I ain't got time for that right now. But eventually I will. And geez, at that point I might even talk about it. But I put together that list that I need someone to help me organize things. Because right now I can't get a home health aide to come in that won't look at the disorganization things are in and say, I can't work here. So the second priority is to get a home health aide to help me with being clean, feeling medically safe. But I want things organized and I want things kept organized. So I want to get a company to come in and organize things in a way that I know where everything is, so I can tell anybody else where everything is. That includes labeling. I've got a bunch of stuff labeled. Even the pantry shelves where I keep food items are labeled so that when you put food items away, you put them away in the right places, so that someone preparing lunch for me or dinner for me can go up there and know exactly where everything is and put it together. Wanting to know when I can't walk over and show you this drawer, that drawer. Having things labeled is not obsessive compulsive. It is having control. That's my guilty control freak. But it's keeping things so that one person knows exactly where another person put something. That includes that I have dry erase boards on the refrigerator where people can leave notes for another healthcare worker or for my husband to let them know that there's something in the washing machine, that there's something that needs done. Could you please change something? Notes that other healthcare workers and my husband and even my doctor need to know that information. So it's a communication board where they can talk to each other. And I set that up too because control freak me wanted to make sure that I know where everything is and that I have made it possible for everyone to communicate with each other. Part control freak, part project manager, background and producer, same thing as project manager. But it's getting all the qualified people in the right places doing the right things and making sure that they communicate with each other and with me, because that's total quality management, and that's what I did. The third list is my personal list, and that includes putting together a to-do list for myself daily, because yes, I'm one of those list people, have been since high school. One of the things that I want to make sure I put on those lists, and this is in the third, I won't say least important, third most important of my priorities, is to put those lists together for myself, which will include setting aside at least an hour of a day, where I just relax, where I meditate, where I take a nap, but an hour every day in the middle of the day where I recharge. And that's something that's going to be helpful for that second priority list. But it's not a second priority. It is a third, completely on my own priority list, things that I can do alone. The Cyber Cafe is open 24/7. You can join me for coffee anytime. And I'll always be here smiling as most as I can. Sometimes talking about things that are not so smiley, but are still part of real life. And I hope that I will be seen by you next week. Once a week would be awesome. Once every few weeks, and watch a few vlogs would also be awesome. And until then, have a fantastic week, and I'm going to try really hard to do the same. Thanks for watching.